Shalom, Hebrew Israelite family, glory and honor to our Father Yahweh, the creator of heaven and earth, the sea and all that in them is, including us, and also Messiah, the high priest of the heavenly Father of Israel, the blood of the Passover, as well as the blood of the covenant. Praise the Most High Yah. Glory and honor to Father Yahweh, glory and honor to Messiah Yahweh Shah in this Shabbat. Greetings to the 12 awakening tribes of the children of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, as well as the brothers and sisters here. Delivery Boy, Sister Love Blue, Keturah, Sister Josie, and Brother Frank, Brother Baldy, Chef, Sister Odyssey, Stephen Kelly. Greetings to all of you as we are tonight looking at two chapters, chapter 31 and 32 of the prophecy of Ezekiel, chapter 31 and 32. Now, before we go into it, a couple things, few things. Before we get started, I want to show you some scriptures. I've been thinking about this for a while, and I want to share some scriptures with you. First, let's start, and this is not in relation to Ezekiel. This is a separate issue, and you'll understand as we read through it. First, let's look at Genesis. Genesis, in the beginning, Genesis, and we'll be looking at Genesis a couple of times. Genesis, let's see. All right. Let's look. Genesis chapter 14. Genesis chapter 14. I'm going to read from verse 1 to 4. Genesis chapter 14. You'll understand, as this is just a side thing I just wanted to cover. Genesis chapter 14, beginning at verse 1 and going to verse 4. And it came to pass in the days of Amraphel, king of Shinar, and Arioch, king of Eleasar, and Chedorlaomer, king of Elam, and Tidal, king of nations, that these made war with Bara, king of Sodom, and with Bersha, king of Gomorrah, and with Shinab, king of Admah, and Shamabeer, Sham-Eber, king of Zeboim, the king of Bela, which is Zoar. All these were joined together in the vale of Shittim, which is the Salt Sea. 12 years they served Chedorlaomer, and in the 13th year they rebelled. So there were kings. Now, these kings had nothing to do with Abraham, who was Abram at that time. But Abraham dwelt in their land. I want you to get that part. So Abram was not Abraham yet, but he was Abram, and he dwelt in their land. Remember, during Abraham's whole lifespan, he never owned the land of Canaan. His nation and his seed was promised the land of Canaan, but he dwelt in the land of Canaan as a stranger his whole life, from when he left Ur of the Chaldees at age 75 to when he died at age 175. I want to make sure you understand this. So he dwelt in the land of Canaan as a stranger for 100 years. Everybody got that? I want to make sure we understand that. Okay. Everybody got that so far? Okay. So let's skip down. Okay. Let's read verse 12, 13, and 14. Okay. 12, 13 of the same chapter, chapter 14 of Genesis, 12, 13, and we're going to have 3 verses, because in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, let every word be established, right? So this is Genesis chapter 14, verse 12, 13, and 14, and I'll explain once we read the 3 witnesses. All right. Verse 12. And they took Lot, Abram's brother's son, who dwelt in Sodom, and his goods, and departed. And there came one that had escaped and told Abram, the Hebrew, for he dwelt in the plain of Mamre, the Amorite, the brother of Eshcol, the brother of Anar. These were confederate with Abram. And when Abram heard that his brother was taken captive, he armed his trained servants, born in his own house, 318, and pursued them unto Dan. Now, hold on. Did Abram start a war with any of these people? Did he start a fight? Was Abram the initiator, the aggressor, the offensive person to start a fight with any of these nations? No. But when he heard that they touched his brother, he responded. And he was ready to respond with violence. Is that correct or not? Is that correct? And apparently, when you look at let's go to the end of the chapter, you can go to the end. Let's go to verse 16 of the same chapter. And he, that is Abram, brought back all the goods, and also brought again his brother Lot and his goods, and the women also, and the people. So Abram went out. Now, he didn't instigate nothing, but he didn't turn the other cheek either. Wait, did y'all hear that? He didn't instigate nothing, but he didn't turn the other cheek either. Is that correct? Am I correct in that? Well, let me ask you, do you think the Messiah and the Father would have approved of what Abram did? Would he have approved of Abram's actions? Would he have approved of that? With Messiah and Father, yes. So in this scenario, they didn't just turn the other cheek and let these nations roll over them and take their cousins and just roll over them, right? But they weren't starting any trouble. They were actually, Abram was trying to live peacefully as a stranger. And some people came at him, right? Some people came at him. And when they came at him, he was ready. Is that correct? Okay, wait. Let's go to Nehemiah. Nehemiah. And let's go to Nehemiah. Okay, wait. Now, Nehemiah was in Persia, and he was servant to the king. And the Israelites were captives in Persia. But they had been given permission to rebuild the wall. I've just given you a synopsis of the situation. Tell me if I'm wrong about that, if I'm incorrect. They were captives in Media and Persia. And Nehemiah was like a cupbearer or something. He was like servant to the king. And he had gotten permission to go back. He had to get permission now from the heathen, because they was in the heathen's land. And he had got permission to go and build the wall. Okay, he got permission to go and build the wall. Okay. Now, according to Haggai the prophet, Zechariah the prophet, the Most High was blessing them. This was prophetic that they go build the wall. They had already rebuilt the temple. Already. Now they were rebuilding the wall, but they had enemies that they knew they had. And so Nehemiah organized the brethren around the city to rebuild the wall, but they knew they had enemies that wanted to kill them. Okay, now Nehemiah chapter 4, and let's see. I'm going to start at verse 10. They got a little discouraged, so we need to put that in here. So this is Nehemiah chapter 4. I'm going to read from verse 10 down to verse 17. And I want you to, this is the second witness, and I want you to see this, okay? This is Nehemiah chapter 4 from verse 10 to verse 17. See, I was bothered by some things, and I had to search the scriptures. You understand? I had to search the scriptures. I can't just come out with my opinion. I got to search the scriptures, right? Okay. Nehemiah chapter 4 from verse 10 to verse 17. And Judah said, the strength of the bearers of burdens is decayed, and there is much rubbish, so that we are not able to build the wall. And our adversary said, they shall not know, neither shall see, till we come in the midst of them and slay them and cause the work to cease. So the enemies wanted to kill them and stop their progress. Are we getting this so far? So the enemies of Judah wanted to stop them and kill them. Okay. Verse 12. And it came to pass that when the Jews which dwelt by them came, they said unto us 10 times, from all places whence ye shall return unto us, they will be upon you. Verse 13. Therefore set I in the lower places behind the wall, and on the higher places I even set the people after their families with their swords, their spears, and their bows. And I looked and rose up and said unto the nobles and to the rulers and to the rest of the people, be not afraid of them. Remember Yahweh, which is great and terrible, and fight for your brethren, your sons and your daughters, your wives and your houses. And it came to pass, when our enemies heard that it was known unto us, and that Yah had brought their counsel to naught, that we returned all of us to the wall, everyone unto his work. It came to pass from that time forth that the half of my servants wrought in the work, the other half of them held both spears and shields and bows and habergeons, and the rulers were behind all the house of Judah, they which builded on the wall, and they that bear burdens, with those that laid it, every one with the one in his hands, and with one of his hands wrought the work, and with the other he held the weapon. Now, again, was Judah trying to start trouble with Samaritans? Were they trying to start a fight with them? What? I mean, it seemed to me they were prepared to be violent. What do you think? They were prepared that if they had to, if they got attacked because they knew their enemies wanted to kill them, if they had to, they were going to be prepared to be violent. Is that correct? Right? Is that correct? Did I read that correctly? So let me ask you all again then. Let me ask you again. Do you think the Father Yah and the Messiah approved of Nehemiah and his crew's actions in having them swords and them staves and them weapons to make sure that their enemies couldn't kill them? But at the same time, they weren't trying to start no fight. They weren't out here trying to march on Samaria and kill them, right? They were just minding their own business, right? They were just minding their own business. They weren't. Okay, so we got two examples so far. That the children of Israel was trying to live peaceably among their enemies and among the people that they were captive with. But they really weren't trying to stop no trouble, but they knew their enemies were going to try to kill them. And therefore, they were prepared to defend themselves against their enemies. Now, wait a minute. Does this go against the precept of loving your enemies? Does it? Does this go against the precept of loving your enemies? That's the question. Malcolm X made a big deal of saying, a revolution is not, you cannot love your enemies and have a revolution. He's right. But the children of Israel was trying to live peaceably with their enemies. But they also were smart enough to understand that their enemies were going to try to kill them. And therefore, they were on guard against any possible attack. Right. Sister Love Blue, you said it. The Jews seem to have this motto that Sister Love Blue just shared. Don't start none, won't be none. Is that correct? Was Sister Love Blue correct? I think she is. What y'all think? I think that's the motto they were following. Wait, we right there. We right there. Hold on. But I'm just saying, in the first two witnesses, right? They was trying to live peaceably. They knew they were in their enemy's land. They knew their enemies had an advantage over them. But the enemy started some, so they was going to be prepared to bring some. Isn't that correct? All right, so wait. One more. I mean, brother delivery boy, you right there. Because look here. Esther chapter 9. I'm going to start from verse 1. Exactly. I'm going to start from verse. But listen, for us to be fully convicted on our position, we need the Bible, right? Like, I didn't just want to make stuff up. My spirit was telling me we was right, but I needed biblical evidence. You see, brothers and sisters, that's how we roll, right? 2 or 3 witnesses. So what we got? We got Moses telling us about Abraham. We got Nehemiah telling us about the wall. And now Esther. In the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, let every word be established. Okay, so let's look. That's right. Show them the other stuff. Esther chapter 9. Beginning at verse 1. And going from verse 1 down to verse 5. Esther chapter 9. Because delivery boy was saying it, and I said, let me open up the Esther. Delivery boy's right there. They're right there. So it is Esther chapter 9 from verse 1 to verse 5. See, I praise the Most High. When we seek to follow the word, then we follow in the word. So when we have a conviction about something, we need 2 or 3 witnesses. Okay. Esther chapter 9 from verse, and we got more. We always got more. Esther chapter 9 from verses 1 to 5. Now, in the 12th month, that is in the month of Adar. Just also, I wanted to prove from biblically that there are 12 months. You know, there's some people think there's 13 months. But the Bible shows us at least 3 different places that there's 12 months. Not 13 months, not 7 months. That is why when they call Yom Kippur the end of the year, it's not the end of the year. Okay? It's the end of it's close to the end of the feast, which they call the last feast, the Feast of the 7 days. And they call it at the end of the year, but it's not the literal end of the calendar year for the Hebrew. There's 12 months. There's 12 fruits that grow fruit every month, right? 12. David put numbers of 12 to serve him in Chronicles. And then, of course, here, the month of Adar, they called it what? Adar for the 12 months. So there's 12 months. Yeah, we know there's 12 tribes. You know, 12 represents Israel, right? 12 represents Israel. 12 months means the whole world. The whole calendar is for Israel. But listen, 12 apostles too, right? Praise the Most High. Anyway, Esther chapter 9 from verses 1 to 5. Now, in the 12th month, that is the month of Adar, on the 13th day of the same, when the king's commandment and his decree drew near to be put in execution, in the day that the enemies of the Jews hoped to have power over them, though it was turned to the contrary, that the Jews had rule over them that hated them, the Jews gathered themselves together in their cities throughout all the provinces of King Ahasuerus, and to lay hand on such as sought their hurt. And no man could withstand them, for fear of them fell upon all people, and all the rulers of the provinces, and the lieutenants, and the deputies and officers of the king helped the Jews because of the fear of Mordecai fell upon them. For Mordecai was great in the king's house, and his fame went out throughout all the provinces. For this man Mordecai waxed greater and greater. Thus the Jews smote all their enemies with the stroke of the sword, and slaughter and destruction, and did what they would unto those that hated them. Now let's understand. The Jews were in the provinces of King Ahasuerus. Again, they were in captivity. Yes, they were in captivity. But they knew their enemies was planning an attack. So what did they do? They went and got their weapons. They had swords, they had hammers, they had swords, whatever they could get, stones, and they were prepared. Do you think Jesus would approve of that? What you think? Do y'all think Jesus would approve of that? You see, Sister Love Blue hit the nail on the head. What Hebrews is always saying, don't start none, won't be none. Let me tell you this. There was a young boy named Emmett Till. Y'all heard of Emmett Till? There was a young boy named Emmett Till, 1954, 55. He was in his uncle's house, and they came in the middle of the night, and Emmett Till family knew what they was coming for. You know, if Emmett Till family had handled business the way Mordecai handled business, if Emmett Till family have handled business the way Abraham handled business, if Emmett Till's family was waiting for them the way Nehemiah knew they was coming, Emmett Till might still be alive today, correct? How many brothers they were coming for? And we in our enemy's land, and don't start none, won't be none, right? I think we got the correct attitude. So in other words, the Bible is one. It does not contradict itself where it says love your enemies. It doesn't contradict itself when it says live peaceably at all men. But at the same time, Malcolm was right. Don't start none, won't be none. If you want some, come get some. Correct? Is that right? See? I think that got it covered. What y'all think? I think that got it covered. I'm just saying. See? I always come from the premise that the answer's in the word. And if I don't see it, it's there. It's just because I don't see it don't mean it ain't there. So I prayed and I was wondering, and I was like, I need some Bible references when our people were defending themselves in the land of captivity against their enemies. I need some Bible references, and look at what we got, brothers and sisters. Same with David. Now, David was king over Israel. Right? David was king over Israel, and he sent a present and ambassadors to a king to say, you know, we're sorry for your loss. But the king got stupid, and they embarrassed David's ambassadors. David suited up. David and the crew suited up. You right? So they wasn't trying to, they was actually ambassadors of peace. But homeboy and them started acting stupid. So David said, oh, you want some? Oh, you want some? Okay. Oh, you want some? Okay. See what I'm saying? So here we are in the land of our enemies, and our enemies are concerned with us being violent. Although our enemies over the last 2,000 years, which will bring me to another point, have been the most violent group of people in the history of planet Earth. The most violent. And they're worried about us with violence. And this goes to another thing. The Bible history starts at Eden. And when you look at the Bible history, it starts 6,000 years ago. When we're reading about Abraham, we're reading about a man that existed 4,000 years ago. Yet people don't look at that history. As a matter of fact, as you know and I know, there are people in the United States that won't even look at the last 300 years. But you see, brothers and sisters, the reason the Most High reveals these things to us is while our enemies are not even understanding what happened 4,000 years ago, we understand that it's an example for us 4,000 years later. You understand? See, somebody's talking about Islam. Islam didn't even come into existence until Muhammad. There was no Islam before Muhammad. Do they not? Am I wrong about that? Because I'm not an expert on Islam, but I just want to ask. Isn't Muhammad credited with being the messenger that brought Islam? I just want to make sure. Am I correct on this or not? Isn't Muhammad called the messenger that brought Islam? So if he the messenger, he didn't even come into existence until the 7th century. Abraham lived something like, I want to say 3,000 years before Muhammad. There was no Islam when Abraham was alive. There was no Islam when Ishmael came along. There wasn't no Ishmael when Moses came along. So when they start talking about Moses, they're making crap up. See? The things that we read from the King James Bible were from manuscripts that came from 4,000 years ago. 4,000 years ago. See? And those things are written, Bible said, for us, upon whom the ends of the world are come. Isn't that what the scripture say? So the things that happened, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Moses, Joseph, all of them were written for our admonition 4,000 years later. See, even though it's ancient history to some people that want to forget history because they want to bring up their sins of history, but we understand why we're in this position 4,000 years later, you see. You understand. We understand. The flood is about almost 6,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago. Okay? And yet the principles of the flood are principles we need to take heed to 5,000 years later. See, because man looks at that like that, but we looking at it as it's a prelude to us. It's a prelude to us. We understand this. It's a prelude to us. The last bit of Bible history took place in the book of John and Revelation. Those two were written at the end of the 1st century AD. So we're talking about right now, we're in year 2026. So you're talking about almost 2,000 years ago. So that was the last writing of Bible history and Bible prophecy, almost 2,000 years ago. Call it 1,900 years ago. And yet, it's guiding us to where we are today and just ahead of us. So the prophetic utterances written in the scriptures 1,900 years ago are guiding our steps today. We're not even talking about 300 years or 400 years or 1,000 years. We're talking about almost 2,000. And they're guiding us. Well, Moses wrote 4,000 years ago from Deuteronomy. Does it not apply to us today? Does it? When he talked about us being in chains in our enemy's land and taken in ships, and when he wrote in Numbers about the ships of Kittim coming and getting us, so we must understand the enormity of what we're dealing with. These things were written thousands of years ago about us. See, when John wrote about the 144,000, that was over 1,900 years ago, and he wrote about you and me. Now, that's amazing. See, that's amazing. See what I'm saying? That's amazing. When Moses talked about 40, the number 40, that was 4,000 years ago. And he's talking about us right here, right now, today. It's amazing. It's amazing, brothers and sisters. But I guess that's just an appreciation for the forethought and power of prophecy. Okay? That's right. My spirit shall not always strive with men. That's right. And exactly, we're seeing it right now. There's mass shootings all the time, brothers. It's man killing wife, man killing children. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But that was prophesied thousands of years ago. about today. So I bring that up also to go with what we're studying here. Now, let's look again. Let's go to Genesis and let's take a look. Genesis chapter 10, Table of Nations. But this is going to be much simpler. We normally would go deeper, but this is a little bit simpler here. Genesis chapter 10, Table of Nations. This is dealing with Ezekiel chapter 31 and 32. But Genesis chapter 10, Table of Nations. Okay. Let's take a look here. Now, verse 1. Now, these are the generations of the sons of Noah: Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Now, each group, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, are going to have people in the eternal kingdom. Okay? Obviously, Shem is, because the chosen seed of Israel is Shemite. So obviously, Shem is going to have, you're going to have the capital city from Shem. The Messiah is from Shem. But also, as we saw in Isaiah chapter 19, check this out now. And now you remember now, the first world empire, more than 4,000 years ago, was Hamitic. The first world kingdom was Hamitic. Okay, so let's look. This is Isaiah chapter 19, verse, and this is again written thousands of years ago, but we're talking about past where we are right now. Okay, so this is Isaiah 19, verse 24 and 25. In that day shall Israel be the third, with Mizraim and with Assyria, even a blessing in the midst of the land, whom Yahweh of hosts shall bless, saying, Blessed be Mizraim, my people, and Assyria, the work of my hands, and Israel, mine inheritance. So you're going to have Hamites that are going to be in the kingdom. And this is in spite of, when we take a look at what I say in spite of, we in the book of Ezekiel, and we're going to go through this some more, but we in the book of Ezekiel, and let's take a look at chapter 38 in the book of Ezekiel, chapter 38. In chapter 38, beginning at verse 1 and 2, chapter 30, verse 1, 2, and 3, chapter 38, verses 1, 2, and 3. And the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, and prophesy against him, and say, Thus saith the Most High Yahweh, Behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal. So Gog represents the children of Japheth. So in both chapter 38 and 39, which 39 represents the first resurrection, 38 is the second resurrection. And they are the leaders of the opposition to the kingdom of the Father are Europeans. But that doesn't mean they're only Europeans. Let's skip down to verse 5. This is verse 5, same chapter, verse 5. I'm going to read verse 5 and 6. Persia, Cush, which is Ethiopia, and Libya, which is the northern Africa, right? With them, all of them with shield and helmet. Gomer and all his bands, that's again Japheth, and the house of Togarmah in the north quarters and all his bands. So there are going to be others that are lost with Gog and Magog that are attacking the city. So here, just looking at Ham, you got people from Ham that are going to be remnant. You got people from Ham that are going to join Gog and Magog against the kingdom. And it's the same with all three. You can have people from Shem against the kingdom. We call them Coons. And then you're going to have people from Shem that's with the kingdom, the remnant. You're going to have people from Japheth, that's Gog and Magog. And then you're going to have people from Japheth that's represented in, I believe, is Hosea. Let me take a look and make sure I'm right on that. I think it's Hosea. Yeah. I believe it is Hosea. Yes, it's Hosea. No, it's not Hosea. It's Amos. Sorry, it's Amos. It's Amos. Okay, yes. It's Amos chapter 9. Yes, it's not Hosea. It's Amos chapter 9, verse 11 and 12. Amos chapter 9, verse 11 and 12. Amos 9, verse 11 and 12. In that day will I raise up the tabernacle of David that is fallen, and close up the breaches thereof. And I will raise up his ruins, and I will build it as in the days of old, that they may possess the remnant of Edom and of all the heathen which are called by my name, saith Yahweh that doeth this. So you're going to have Amalekites and Gentiles. In fact, this verse right here is what James quoted when Paul and Barnabas and Silas and them were going to the Gentiles. He quoted this verse as proof they're supposed to do it. And the people that Paul and them was going to was people like Greeks. These are what we would call Europeans. So there are Europeans that are going to lead the charge against our Heavenly Father, against the Messiah, and against the kingdom. But there's going to be, as it says here, a remnant of them that's going to be with us. There's going to be Hamites that's going to lead the charge with Japhet against the kingdom. But there's going to be a remnant of them that's going to be with Israel. Then, of course, the chosen people, the inheritance, are going to be here. But there's going to be some turncoats. There's going to be some Judases against us and against the kingdom. So that in each one of the three sons of Noah, a remnant is going to be saved. The key thing is the people that are going to be the remnant are the people that are going to be convicted on the word of the Father and by his spirit and by his righteousness, no matter where they are. You understand what I'm saying? So we give the word. And yes, he said, come out of her, my people. Now, of course, he's calling first and foremost Israel. But let us always remember, there's going to be a remnant out of all of Noah's children. Noah's three sons. He had three sons, triplets, and there's going to be a remnant out of each one. Let us remember that. That is why when we're reading about in Ezekiel now, and you seeing the spanking that the Most High is laying on the children of Mizraim, man, you understand he's laying that spanking on the way he laid it on us for the same reason, to humble them because they thought they was gods in mess, and to bring them in their humility to the truth. Now, of course, it's not going to be all of them, but there's going to be some. There's going to be a remnant of them, a remnant of Ham that comes to this truth. Praise the Most High. So let us not discount the fact and say there'll be only people from Israel or there'll be no children of Japhet. That is not true. We see from the scriptures all three of Noah's children will be represented in the kingdom. Now, the top dogs are going to be the children of Judah and Israel. But that doesn't discount other people that's going to be there as well, you see. Praise the Most High. And in this age in which we live is the sternest test, because the children of Japhet have been given dominance on the planet. And it's much more difficult to humble yourself when you've been given dominance on the planet than if you've been humble before, like we have, you see. So there's going to be some remnant of Japhet that's going to humble themselves and come to this truth. Praise the Most High. Now, majority of them not. We're talking about remnant. Okay, so praise the Most High. Now, let's go to Ezekiel chapter 31. But y'all got the lesson, right? So the lesson the Bible to me is teaching me is we live peaceably with everybody. But if you don't start none, won't be none. If you don't start none, won't be none. We trying to avoid that. We try our best. Live peaceably with all men. But if you start something, you might catch something. right? So you could love your enemies. You could be at peace with them. That's cool. But at the same time, don't start none. Because we're not going to let you just roll up on our porch like they did Emmett Till that night. You're just not going to do that. You understand? We still got Nehemiah. We still got Abraham. We still got Mordecai. Don't start none. Won't be none. There you go. Okay. Now when you start to see again the beat down that Ezekiel's prophesying on the children of Mizraim about in chapter 31 and 32, understand it's the prelude to getting a remnant. Just like us. We caught the beat, we've been catching the beat down. And it's a prelude to being us, to becoming a remnant. The thing is, too, is that, again, most people are so focused on this continent of Africa that they don't look past that. Because you and I, our forefathers, were before that. We were before that. Before that continent was called Africa, we were here. And when the continent named Africa goes into the kingdom as another name, we'll still be here. You understand? We'll still be here. Always gonna have Judah. Always gonna have the 12 tribes. Always. Praise the Most High. But I'll just say, Stephen Kelly, don't start none, won't be none. Malcolm was right. Don't start none, won't be none. Now, when Messiah was talking about that, check this out. When you think about when Messiah was talking about love your enemies and all that, he wasn't talking about Romans. How do I know that? The Israelites were in captivity in their own land to the Romans. Now, why were they in captivity? Because of their sins. How do you see an example of that better than when you open the book of Luke and you see chapter 2 where it tells you there's 2 high priests and it tells you who Pilate is and it talks about Herod and Herod's brother. It's corruption. It's corruption. And so that system is what our brothers and sisters in the southern kingdom were born into. So when he's talking about loving your enemies, he's talking about your brother. Like, don't be hurting your brother Israelite. If he's a tax collector, stay cool. Okay? Stay cool. And if you're dealing with centurions from Rome, live peaceably. Don't start no mess. See? That's when he said, obey the magistrates. Don't start no trouble. You hear what I'm saying? Especially they was in the control of the heathen. And what Israel didn't figure out is why. Why were they under the control of the heathen? Because they were sinning against the Heavenly Father. They were creating their own religion. They were making deals with the Roman leaders. That's why. And Messiah came to bring us back to the Heavenly Father and to his word, to Torah, as some would say, right? Messiah came to bring us back to Torah. Stop trusting in man. That's what he was doing. Praise the Most High. All right. Now, Ezekiel chapter 31. That's right. Render to Caesar that belonged to Caesar, and render to Yahweh that belonged to Yahweh. There you go. Praise the Most High. All right. Chapter 31. See, that's why Malcolm has such a problem with Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King perverted the message of the Messiah because he was teaching Christianity. Christianity is a perversion of the Bible message. Okay, Malcolm didn't even really know the Bible message, but he knew that didn't make no sense. Don't be standing in front of them with dogs biting your women's breast off and killing your little babies. No. But at the same time, if we're doing what's right, we can defend ourselves. We're not trying to start no trouble with you. We can defend ourselves, but don't start none. Won't be none. There you go. Ezekiel chapter 31, beginning at verse 1. And it came to pass in the 11th year, in the 3rd month, in the 1st day of the month, that the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, Speak unto Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and to his multitude. Whom art thou like in thy greatness? Behold, the Assyrian was a cedar in Lebanon, with fair branches, and with a shadowing shroud, and of a high stature, and his top was among the thick boughs. The waters made him great. The deep set him up on high, with her rivers running round about his plants, and set out her little rivers unto all the trees of the field. Therefore his height was exalted above all the trees of the field, and his boughs were multiplied. And his branches became long because of the multitude of waters when he shot forth. And, all the fowls of heaven made their nest in his boughs, and under his branches did all the beasts of the field bring forth their young. Under his shadow dwelt all great nations. Thus it was. He was fair in his greatness, in the length of his branches, for his root was by great waters. The cedars in the garden of Yahweh could not hide him. The fir trees were not like his boughs, and the chestnut trees were not like his branches, nor any tree in the garden of Yahweh was like unto him in his beauty. I have made him fair by the multitude of his branches, so that all the trees of Eden that were in the garden of Yahweh envied him. Ooh. Therefore, thus saith the Most High Yahweh, because thou hast lifted up thyself in height, and hast shot up his top among the thick boughs, and his heart is lifted up in his height, I have therefore delivered him into the hand of the mighty one of the heathen. He shall surely deal with him. I have driven him out for his wickedness, and strangers, the terrible of the nations, have cut him off, and have left him upon the mountains, and in all the valleys his branches are fallen, and his boughs are broken by all the rivers of the land. And all the people of the earth are gone down from his shadow, and have left him. Upon his ruin shall all the fowls of heaven remain, and all the beasts of the field shall be upon his branches, to the end that none of all the trees by the waters exalt themselves for their height, neither shoot up their top among the thick boughs, neither their trees stand up in their height. All that drink water, for they are delivered unto death, to the nether parts of the earth, in the midst of the children of men, with them that go down to the pit. Thus saith the Most High Yahweh, in the day that he went down to the grave, I caused the mourning. I covered the deep for him. I restrained the floods thereof, and the great waters were stayed. And I caused Lebanon to mourn for him. All the trees of the field fainted for him. I made the nations to shake at the sound of his fall, when I cast him down to hell with them that descend into the pit. All the trees of Eden, the choice and best of Lebanon, all that drink water shall be comforted in the nether parts of the earth. They also went down into hell with him, unto them that be slain with the sword, and they that were his arm, that dwelt under his shadow in the midst of the heathen. To whom art thou thus like in glory and greatness among the trees of Eden? Yet shalt thou be brought down to the trees of Eden, with the trees of Eden, unto the nether parts of the earth. Thou shalt lie in the midst of the uncircumcised, with them that be slain by the sword. This is Pharaoh in all his multitude, saith the Most High Yahweh. So what I got from this, okay, is that when a nation exalts themselves to the point where they think they're higher than the creator, or they think they are equal with the creator, or they think they are the creator, he that is the creator knows how to humble them. He knows how to bring them low, and he will. Now, he chooses Mizraim specifically because he has plans for the remnant of Mizraim, as we saw. So he smacks those he cares about. and he humbles those he loves. Now, Mizraim, otherwise known as Egypt, well, it's founded by Ham. Well, it's fathered by Ham, founded by Mizraim himself, but it's thousands and thousands of years old. Thousands and thousands of years. And that's why the Most High is going to preserve them in the kingdoms. There's going to be some Mizraim descendants in the kingdom. Okay? Humbled. But there are those nations that follow people that think they're gods. Now, even among them, there'll be a remnant that come out. But the majority of them, 5, 6 at least, as we know, will be destroyed forever. Now, we have chapter 32, which is going to be a lot like chapter 31, but more detail in terms of the punishment. Okay, and this is really the last description of the Hamitic spanking. So we'll come back to that tomorrow. We'll come back tomorrow by the grace of the Most High. But y'all caught the message with respect to loving your enemies. Y'all caught the message with respect to the remnant of the children of Noah. Remember now, Noah had 3 children, 3 sons. Shem, going to be the remnant, the inheritance. Ham, going to be a remnant. And Yafet, going to be a remnant. There's going to be a remnant of each. Praise the Most High. Now, the majority of them other children are going to be fighting against the kingdom. Just like there's going to be coons among us fighting against the kingdom. But the word tells us there'll be a remnant. Praise the Most High. There you go, brothers and sisters. So I praise the Most High for his word because it gave me a reason to understand more fully. What does it mean to love your enemies? What does it mean to pray for them that despitefully use you and persecute you? Those are your own brothers and sisters. But when we talk about people in the land of our captivity, we're looking to do what? Live peaceably. Follow the magistrates. Give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar. Don't start no trouble. And let them understand, don't start none, won't be none. And as far as possible, even when they starting, we're trying to avoid a problem much as we can. Mordecai and them wasn't trying to start no trouble. Abraham was just chilling when they came and told him what happened. And then, of course, we saw Nehemiah. All they was trying to do was do what the prophets told them to do, build a wall. But their enemies were trying to destroy the wall and kill them. So they built with one hand and had a hand on their weapon in the other hand. You see, brothers and sisters, praise the Most High. Yeah, he got it. Most High, Yah got it. Guide all of us in the way we should go all the time. How to handle ourselves in the midst of this modern Babylonian age, right before we're delivered. And we are close to our deliverance. Praise the Most High, Yah. And we are seeking the righteousness of the Heavenly Father in preparation for a kingdom that's going to be here shorter, more quicker than people understand. Praise the Most High. May the Most High bless you and keep you. May he cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. And may he lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, brothers and sisters.